The air on Graction 9 stank of ozone, dust, and pride. Elias Wren stood at the edge of the Colosseum's inner ring, boots scraping against obsidian tiles polished by centuries of alien blood and applause. Above him, alien nobles lounged on floating thrones, sipping from crystalline flasks, amused by today's sideshow, a human summoned like a dog to a warlord's court. He kept his jaw tight. A gong thundered. Baron Korvac entered through massive iron doors, his bioplated frame adorned in ceremonial armor that gleamed like liquid bone. The crowd roared. Vact raised a hand, silencing them with a grin that never touched his eyes. Terran, he called out, voice amplified through subdermal tech. You've made a name for yourself, fixing dead tech and broken war machines. But can you fix this? From the shadows behind him, a figure was dragged forth. She was barely more than a specter, thin, limp, draped in violet silks that barely clung to her unmoving body. Pale gold skin, hair like woven silver, and two lifeless eyes locked in a permanent forward stare. They dropped her beside Elias like a malfunctioning droid. The Baron's laughter echoed. My daughter, Calith. Paralyzed since birth. Accursed noble blood. I give her to you, as a gift. He smirked. Or perhaps, a joke. The crowd burst into laughter. Some mocked in alien tongues, others threw tokens into the pit, betting how long the Terran would last before breaking. Elias knelt beside her silently. Her skin was warm, her pulse faint. Breathing, steady. Her gaze was blank, but not empty. There was something. She's not dead, he said flatly, brushing hair from her cheek. No. Just worthless, Vact said. Too expensive to kill. Too shameful to display. Elias stood. Then I'll take her. The laughter stopped. What? The Baron said, the word like static. You gave her, Elias replied. I accept. Vact squinted. You'll regret that, Terran. She's not salvageable. Not even with your human grit. Elias didn't reply. He bent down, lifted Calith gently into his arms, and walked away without looking back. The silence of the crowd felt heavier than their laughter. The hangar Elias rented was little more than a bunker welded from starship wreckage. Inside, parts of long-dead Dominion tech hung from hooks like carcasses. He laid Calith on a padded worktable beneath soft white light. She didn't react. No flinch. No breath shift. Still as ice. Let's see what they did to you, he murmured. Using a microscanner, he traced her spine. A thread of invasive neural bindings ran from the base of her skull to her lumbar vertebrae, organic implants fused with alien tech. Illegal. Ancient. Designed not to heal, but to bind. Her condition wasn't a disease. It was deliberate. A prison made of her own nervous system. He sat back, rage burning beneath his calm. They caged you in your own mind, he whispered. No movement. But her pupils contracted, just slightly. He blinked. Did you hear me? No answer. But the machines confirmed, slight autonomic response spike. That was enough. For 6 hours, Elias dissected scans, mapped the implants, and reviewed blacklisted Graction schematics he'd stolen during past jobs. Her implants bore Dominion seals, old models with built-in override locks, Baron-class command only. He couldn't rip them out, but he could reroute them. By midnight, he'd jerry-rigged an interface. I'm going to try something, he told her. If this hurts, I'm sorry. He pressed the connector to the base of her neck. The machine chirped. Her fingers twitched. He froze. Again, barely a tremor. But deliberate. Elias smiled. We've got signal. He adjusted the interface and booted up a translator. The screen pulsed with soft blue light. He routed basic motor commands to visual feedback. A simple grid. Top left square blinked, yes. Top right, no. Calith, he said. Can you see this? A pause. Then the top left square blinked twice. Elias exhaled slowly, his voice shaking now. I'm going to help you. Not because I have to. Because you deserve better than being a joke. Another blink, yes. He ran a hand down his face. I need to sleep. But tomorrow, we begin. If you're willing. Another pause. Then, a third blink. Slower. A signal of agreement. She had heard him. She understood. Later that night, Elias sat on a cot in the corner of the hangar, staring at the girl across the room. What kind of father builds a prison inside his daughter? He thought of the war. Of his squad mate Jensen, gutted by a bomb Elias couldn't defuse fast enough. Of the promise he made to stop wasting time on the past. But Caliph wasn't the past. She was now. He couldn't save Jensen. But he could rebuild this girl. And maybe, just maybe, he could burn down the empire that made her this way. Elias leaned back, the faint glow of the interface casting shadows across her still face. She wasn't smiling. But she wasn't forgotten anymore. Mornings on Graction 9 were sharp and dry, a rust-colored sun casting jagged shadows through the hangar's exposed beams. Elias was already up, calibrating the neural interface he'd welded from salvaged Dominion tech and surgical-grade Terran implants. Caliph lay still beneath the beamlight, a diagnostic grid pulsing faintly beside her. You ready? Elias asked. No blink. Are you awake? Top left square flashed twice. Yes. He leaned in. Good. I mapped a new control route. The biolocks in your spine override natural nerve signals, but if I pulse data through the cranial port, I can piggyback simple commands. Move your right hand. Silence. Then, fingers twitched. Not a tremor this time. A movement. Weak, but undeniable. Elias grinned. You just flipped off an entire species. A low buzz came from the translator screen. He glanced over. Caliph had selected, what is flip? Elias laughed under his breath. Human gesture. Usually after we get insulted. Caliph blinked again. Appropriate. That made him pause. It was the first sign of personality. Humor, even. She wasn't just responding, she was participating. By the fourth day, Caliph could clench her fists. The lab smelled of solder, adrenaline, and burned metal. Elias had jury-rigged a skeletal exoglove, amplifying her tiny movements into precise control. He adjusted her arm brace. The joints are synthetic. We'll link muscle memory later. Right now, I just want you to hold this. He placed a small rod in her palm. Her hand trembled, then closed around it. Elias exhaled. That's strength. Caliph blinked twice. Yes. He walked to his bench, pulling wires, splicing components. I don't know how long we have. When word gets out you're improving, the Baron might intervene. Caliph blinked, let him. Don't tempt fate, Elias said. I've tempted it before. It shoots back. By week's end, the translator had evolved into something more fluid. A curved vocal interface rested beneath her collarbone, pulling phonemes directly from cortical thought bursts. Elias adjusted the gain. Try speaking. Silence. Then, a whisper, dry and cracked, name. He stepped closer. Yours? She nodded. Slow, deliberate. Caliph. Her voice was hoarse, unnatural, processed through machine tones. But it was her. Elias crouched beside her. It suits you. She blinked. Means blade of light. He smiled. Fitting. They tried to bury you. You're cutting your way out. Caliph stared at her trembling fingers. Why help me? He thought for a moment. Because no one else would. Progress accelerated. With each day, Elias watched her reclaim motion, then coordination. He taught her through repetition, guiding fingers over glyph boards, helping her sit upright, balance, eventually take assisted steps with the exosuit's aid. Kalith devoured knowledge. Her memory was sharp, her curiosity endless. "You knew this tech before," Elias said one night. Kalith nodded. "Was taught in secrecy." "Before, Locke." He frowned. "They taught you and then silenced you?" "Feared me," she whispered. Her voice was smoother now, artificial tones slowly replaced by muscle-assisted modulation. "You were never broken," Elias murmured. "Just, chained." Vac's spies came on the 10th night. Elias spotted them, 2 Graction guards pretending to inspect fuel permits near the hangar's outer pad. He didn't react, just closed the doors and activated shielding. "He's watching," he told Kalith. "Let him." Elias tilted his head. "You planning something?" Her eyes, once distant, now burned with focus. "When I walk in front of him, I want him to look away first." Elias chuckled. "That's ambitious. I was raised to be silent. Now I want to make noise." He studied her for a long second. "Then let's make it loud." Training intensified. Elias pushed the interface to full body mapping. Each motion she learned fed into the exosuit, strengthening natural feedback loops. She practiced speech, balance, facial expressions. He even ran her through basic Terran self-defense routines. One afternoon, after she successfully blocked a strike, Elias lowered his arms. "You're terrifying." Kalith smirked. Finally. They sat in the silence that followed, sweat and circuitry between them. "You ever hate him?" Elias asked. Kalith didn't look away. "I used to. Now I pity him." He nodded. "Because he's weak?" "No. Because I'll make him irrelevant." That night, they stood on the upper hangar deck, the city of stone and steam stretched below them. The sun dipped behind serrated ridgelines, casting molten gold across the skyline. Kalith, standing unaided for the first time, placed a hand on the railing. "Feel that wind?" Elias asked. She nodded. "You earned it." She didn't speak for a while. Then, softly, "Thank you." Elias turned to her. "I didn't fix you, Kalith. I just cleared the rubble." She met his gaze. "You built a legend." He laughed. "No, you're building it. I'm just the guy holding the flashlight." She looked down at her trembling hands. "Soon," she said. And Elias believed her. The grand atrium of the Graction High Court shimmered with light refracted through crystal columns, built more for spectacle than function. Alien nobles draped in ceremonial silk waited with idle boredom, sipping venom wine and wagering on tonight's entertainment. The main doors boomed open. Elias entered first, coat flared behind him, boots echoing over the glass floor. He didn't look left or right. Behind him came Kalith. No guards dragged her. No braces held her. She walked. The silence fell fast. Faster than laughter had, weeks ago. Baron Vac rose from his throne, eyes wide, mouth frozen in a half-smirk that had forgotten what it was doing. "Impossible," he muttered. Kalith stopped before him, her eyes calm, her voice even. "I am Kalith Vac, daughter of this house. I invoke blood right under Dominion Code 914X. A gasp rippled through the chamber. A few nobles stood. Others leaned forward, intrigued. Vac regained his composure with a sneer. "You were discarded. You were never meant to speak, let alone stand. This trickery is beneath even a Terran." Elias stepped forward. "No trick. Just good wiring, and better will." The Baron ignored him. "You are not heir. You are a defective remnant." Kalith's jaw tightened. "You gave me a way to mock a man. You made a spectacle of your own blood. Now you'll witness what that mistake became." She turned to the assembly. "You wanted to laugh. Then laugh now." No one did. Instead, Holographic feeds activated across the upper tiers, Kalitha's voice triggering the broadcast sequence Elias had coded last night. Her neural feed displayed side-by-side diagnostics, the locked state she was found in and the restoration sequence. Her rise from immobile shell to standing air. Then a second feed. Evidence of illegal neural tampering, sealed medical files hidden under her father's crest. Exposed. Suppression of ascension error, she said coldly. Violation of Graxian noble codes. Abuse of Dominion biotech. Dishonor by deception. Vact lunged. But Kalith didn't flinch. Elias was faster. He stepped between them, sidearm raised, not aimed, but ready. The Baron stopped. Kill me, Kalith said, voice louder now, and every feed across the Dominion will label you what you are, a coward clinging to blood-stained legacy. Vact looked at the nobles. Some avoided his gaze. A few were already transmitting the data to off-world networks. The old power had cracked. You think you've won? He spat. Kalith stepped closer. I wasn't trying to win. I was surviving. But now? Now I'm rewriting the rules. He reached for his belt. Elias caught the move. The bolt fired. Smoke hissed from Elias' shoulder as a stun round grazed him. He staggered, firing a non-lethal arc that knocked Vact backwards. The nobles leapt to their feet. Guards rushed in, but not to attack Kalith. To shield her. One by one, Graxian warriors kneeled. Kalith looked down at her father, wheezing, stunned, still clutching a blade he'd never drawn. I am not your shame, she said. Then she turned and walked out. Outside the court, under blackening skies, they moved fast. Elias clutched his shoulder, blood staining his sleeve, but grinned. You planned that whole thing? Kalith helped him down the stairs. Only the part where I stand. Well, he grimaced, you did that like a queen. She didn't respond, just keyed the comlink. The ship Elias had retrofitted, the Skystone, lowered with a hiss of grav thrusters. Lights danced over the courtyard as crowds began to gather. Rumors were moving faster than security. Kalith looked out at the city. They'll come for us. Elias nodded. And they'll find we're already gone. The Skystone broke atmosphere just as military dispatches were issued, too late. Elias sat in the cockpit, arm bandaged, while Kalith watched Dominion news feeds blink updates every second. Her name was trending across 6 systems. Legend already, he muttered. You didn't waste time. She turned to him, voice steady. I never had time to waste. He leaned back, staring out at the stars. You know, he said, when I first saw you, I thought you were a joke. Kalith tilted her head. And now? He smiled. Now I think you're a revolution. Back in the cargo hold, amidst broken tech and scattered tools, Kalith stood alone for a long time. No cords attached. No servos humming. Just her and gravity, and the path forward. She flexed her fingers. No tremble. No chains. Just choice. And for the first time in her life, she had it. She walked toward the stars. The Skystone drifted through uncharted space, its engines dimmed to avoid detection. Inside, the atmosphere felt thick, less from oxygen and more from the weight of consequence. Kalith sat in the command lounge, bare feet resting on the cold alloy floor, watching a dozen star charts rotate in midair. Her face was still, composed, but Elias knew her too well now. That stillness meant calculation. He leaned in the doorway, arms crossed. They'll come after us. I know. Not just fact. The Dominion Council. You embarrassed an entire ruling house. Kalith didn't flinch. They deserve worse. Elias stepped closer. What's the play? She zoomed in on a remote sector, a dead zone between 2 fractured trade routes. Sector 19 Corvus. Old Terran mining colonies. Forgotten by the Dominion. No patrols, no allegiance. Elias raised an eyebrow. A hiding spot? No. A starting point. He sat across from her. You're serious? Caliph nodded. They wrote me off. Now I write myself in. The Dominion's response came faster than expected. 3 days after the broadcast from Graction, encrypted channels lit up across the outer systems. News anchors, independent feeds, and warlord networks all repeated the story. Caliph Fact walks again. Some called her a miracle. Others called it rebellion. Then came the bounties. First, for Elias. Then for the girl who defied a baron. Their faces lit up on bounty boards across 3 quadrants. Elias chuckled bitterly. At least they used a good photo. Caliph barely glanced. Let them chase ghosts. We're already moving. But the threat was real. The Dominion wouldn't make the same mistake twice. They arrived at Corvus 19 under a false ID signature. The surface was bleak, ash-colored soil, broken infrastructure, and husks of machines abandoned during the Great Mining Exodus. Yet people lived here. Survivors. Fringe dwellers. Forgotten humans, half-mechanical laborers, and outcast species who'd escaped Dominion control. Perfect. Elias adjusted his coat as they entered the main settlement. We're really going to pitch a revolution in a scrap town? Caliph stepped forward, her posture sharp and poised. No. We're going to build one. The first meeting was tense. The miners didn't trust strangers. Especially not a woman once seen as noble blood. They sat in a rusted-out loading bay, ringed by guards wielding ion tools disguised as weapons. The crowd was silent until Elias broke it. You've all been forgotten, he said, voice calm. The Dominion doesn't patrol here. They don't supply you. You're ghosts to them. Someone scoffed. And what? You're here to haunt them? Elias nodded. Something like that. Caliph stepped into the center, her voice clear. They erased me. They erased you. I'm not here to beg for their favor, I'm here to offer you a seat at the fire they're afraid I'll start. A beat passed. Then an old woman at the back spoke. I watched the feed. Saw what they did to you. Saw you walk. If you can do that, maybe you can do more. A ripple of murmurs followed. Caliph didn't smile. She simply bowed her head. Not alone. But together, we can make them see us again. Within weeks, Corvus 19 began to shift. Abandoned fabrication plants were rebooted. Old mining rigs became defense turrets. Caliph used her implants to connect systems faster than any tech crew Elias had seen. She didn't lead like royalty, she moved like someone who'd spent her life immobile and now craved motion. Elias watched from the upper scaffold of a repurposed command tower as workers strung up signal amplifiers. Caliph coordinated with 3 settlements across the sector. The rebellion was no longer whispers. It had a voice. And it was hers. One night, under broken stars, Caliph stood alone by the old ore yard. The wind was sharp, blowing grit against her cloak. Elias joined her, silent at first. You okay? He asked. She nodded, but her expression didn't match. What is it? Caliph looked up. All my life, I was silent. Trapped in my mind. Now I'm free, but I can't stop thinking like a prisoner. Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. Freedom's not just walking. It's deciding where you walk next. She turned to him. And if where I walk leads to war? He didn't hesitate. Then I'll walk beside you. The Dominion warship arrived on the edge of the system without warning. A sleek black cruiser, its hull marked with golden insignias, approached orbit, no comms, no threats, just presence. A reminder. Elias paced the command tower as the sensors lit up. Caliph observed silently. Then she spoke. Broadcast sector-wide. No one hides. No one runs. You sure? Elias asked. If we flinch now, we teach them we can be pushed. We stand. The settlement readied defenses. civilians evacuated into bunkers. And Caliph, she stood at the tower's peak, a transmitter in hand. To the Dominion, she said one word. Observe. And then she deactivated her neural suppressor fully. Across the Dominion's private feeds, her signal flooded the networks, her data, her voice, her movement, unfiltered. Living proof of resurrection, of disobedience, of power not granted but reclaimed. The warship didn't fire. It left. Not out of mercy, but calculation. They'd underestimated her once. They wouldn't again. Back in the control room, Elias let out a long breath. That was bold. Caliph sat down, eyes on the monitor. It was necessary. He looked at her, really looked. You're not just a legend anymore. She met his gaze. No. I'm a problem now. Elias grinned. Then let's be the kind of problem they can't fix. And in the quiet hum of the rebuilt colony, the first true heartbeat of rebellion echoed through forgotten stars.